When my friends come into town, generally speaking, we go look at all the amazing cars that South Florida has to offer. Recently, my friend Todd came into town and we did just that. We went to all the different exotic car dealers around that we could get to. We looked at some of the most amazing cars you can think of. It's cool for me is those are things that motivate me to push and want to be better in business and in life, to have and own those types of things. At one point, this was that car for me. I would see it and like, I need that car. And I had to figure out a way to build a life that could afford this car. He actually asked me when it's the time to purchase that, how I've determined when it's okay and not regret it and be able to comfortably support a life that something like this can be in. It got me thinking, like, how do I describe how I do it? I have to start with, you need to determine what motivates you, what pushes you, what makes you work hard on those days you don't feel like working hard. So for me, it's things like cars and material possessions that push me to drive me. I understand that that's not always what it is for everybody else, and I also understand that's not always healthy. But for me, that's what pushes me to work harder, do more, and want to grow. The reason I don't think it's that way for everyone, or it should be that way for everyone, is because if you're not disciplined and you haven't created the right boundaries around how you spend money and what you spend money on, you can get yourself into financial trouble really fast. And I know this because I did it earlier in my life and it took me a long time to recover, but I don't think without it, I would have been able to develop the system I have to have the stability in my life to be able to own things like this. I get why a lot of people tell you not to use material items as motivating factors and things like that, but as long as you've built a life that supports those things, I think there's absolutely no problem at all owning those things that inspire you and make you want to try harder. It doesn't have to be a material possession, that's just what works for me, but you just need it to be your reward. The reward for putting in the effort and the delayed gratification and the short-term sacrifices for long-term gain, you need to reward yourself for that. So what is it that you do to reward yourself, and how do you determine when it's time for that reward? This conversation with Todd really made me put it into words how I actually think about it. Start with that thing. The McLaren Senna is my thing, right? So the first thing I do is I take the time to make it real and not just use the word Senna. I'm going to, the next day or two, I'm going to go look at what's for sale, look at specs of them, and I'm going to find the sale price currently and the way the one I want looks. Is going to then become my wallpaper. I'll print it out, I'll put it in places that I'm working, and when I'm dragging, I can remind myself what it is I'm pushing so hard for. And I'm saying this as a reward because you're obviously always pushing to support your family and loved ones, and just the basic things that all of us want, that's always there. So you need that reward on top of that for those tough days. On the days you're just firing on all cylinders and everything's working great, you don't need that external thing to help you. But on those other days, at least for me, that external visual thing, that's why I still use vision boards, dream boards, however you want to call it. Those things help me push through the bad, rough days, or when everything seems like it's just smacking you in the face and you just can't get stuff to get rolling right. Those are the days you need that thing. So here's how it works for me. I have the Senna. We're going to use that. I have to decide what is it in my life that makes it suddenly okay for me to purchase that thing. And so for this specific example, there are 3 things that need to happen to where I know I won't regret the purchase or have to try to back out of it and maybe take a big financial hit. So number 1, I need to figure out how am I going to pay for it, right? For me, I cannot use the money from my business or my day job to pay that car payment. I just won't. I'll regret it a little bit and decide that I've made a mistake or I should sell it because it will be draining from my income that I should be using to plan for the future and stuff like that. So I cannot use that money. For me, it's going to have to be the payment is 100% funded by passive income. So number 2 is going to be all the money I'm going to need to pay the taxes for buying it and the down payment need to come from my alternative assets that I have put money into. That'll be cars that I can trade in, which will give me a tax credit as well. So those are a big one, but also other things that I've invested in to park my money in to not just lose it as paper sitting in a safe. I'm a big proponent of not just having cash lying around or in a savings account, because inflation and those kinds of things are going to devalue that money faster than any small interest rate that those types of accounts will give you. So I like alternative assets. There's plenty of them. It's anything you're really interested in that you know you could buy it for this, sell it for this, and in the meantime, it's holding its value without depreciating at the same rate as inflation. So I need that to cover all the money out of pocket. And number three, and it's number three not because of the importance level, but because the other two need to be figured out before number three will ever happen. It's the approval of my wife, because it is an insane purchase. I need to have a plan put together, express that plan to her in a clear enough way that she says, okay, that makes sense. Go ahead with it. That's not just enough for me though. Those are just the steps that have to happen so that I am comfortable with that purchase. What I have to do then is take each of those three steps and figure out how to break those down into manageable steps. Because right now, the purchase of the Senna, it's here. I can't just jump from here to here. I have to find the stairs to take each step to make my way to that. And I have to set up my system to give me each step along the way to make it obtainable and real for my brain to start pushing myself for it. Again, as my example, the first thing was the passive income. I use real estate, rental properties as my source of passive income. We're just going to use a rough estimate here that it's going to be $15,000 a month for the Senna. I need to have $15,000 a month coming in for my passive income, and I need to figure out how many properties I need, or if I need to upgrade from single family homes to maybe a multifamily home, like an apartment complex or something like that, and roll my stuff together for that. That's what's gonna come with the later steps, is the breaking it down step by step. I haven't got that far yet, but I know I need to find the price of the car, and then how much money that is. I need to figure out how to make that money passively, and then which is going to be the best and most beneficial route for me to get to that dollar amount. Number two is I need to know, once I know the price of the car, I can figure out percentage-wise how much I need or want to put down, what the taxes will be on that, and then have to figure out how much of my alternative assets I either need or have to get rid of at the time of purchase to make it make sense for me, and I'm not just losing more of my earned income from my day job. And then number three, once I have those steps where I know every single step along the way, I can go for number three, which is expressing that plan to my wife and making sure that she's comfortable with it as well, because we're a team. I can't just make this decision on my own, and the checks and balances that come with that are how we keep ourselves out of trouble, because maybe she'll want more than $15,000 passive income because she'll want more than just the car payment coming in. So once I have the plan, she'll express her concerns with it, with the plan to me. I'll be able to adjust it. And then once all three of those steps, exact detailed blueprint on how to get there, all I have to do every day I wake up is make sure I take at least one step along the way. And there might be a day I don't get one step done. It's okay. As long as I work towards it and there's a plan to get there, it's gonna motivate me. It's gonna push me. It's going to inspire me. And I'm going to get there because it's something that I have made real in my brain. And once it becomes real in your brain will start to see things. And another thing is, don't be afraid to change the reward. Just because it's what you were working for a while doesn't mean there won't magically be something else you would rather have. That's okay. You've already got the plan in place. You can just change the end goal, and that might even refire you up, because maybe that thing that you thought was the reward you wanted isn't actually the reward you want, and there's something that you wanted more. You just didn't know it. You start having a better understanding of what it is you actually want, course correct. And it usually won't change all of the steps to get there. And it could be like, say, I no longer want a Senna, I'm totally fine with this, but what I want is a bigger house, or I want a better house. Who knows what? Whatever that is, a lot of the steps I've already taken the time to plan out and understand how to get there will be useful for that thing. For me, that was such a big difference and a game changer, and I hope for you this helps. I know it's a little confusing. I've never actually had to put it into words before, the way I just mentally break things down. So if it's not clear, definitely tell me in the comments and I'll try to be a little clearer with it. I also want to know, what is your reward? What is the thing that you want to work towards? I'm assuming if you're watching this channel, it's probably something to do with cars. If not, that's totally fine. I want to know them all, because sometimes I find things I didn't even think about when I hear someone else tell me their thing. So definitely let me know in the comments, and I'll see you on the next one.